Good morning. I've been asked to share with you this thought for the day. Many of you may not know who I am, so I'd better introduce myself. I'm a retired priest living in Highcliffe. I am, in fact, the husband of Sandra, your curate. So in the months and the years ahead, you may see me quite a lot in the parish of Ringwood and in the different churches. But today, I just want to share a thought that you might find useful and you might be able to think about. As I go out from my house in Highcliffe, I drive to the end of the road and I come to a place called Holborn Lane. I come to the top and I drive down the slope. There's a small slope that runs for a couple of 100 yards. Now, as I come to that slope, if I'm not thinking clearly and if I'm not concentrating, the car, well, it'll pick up speed. And although I might be just doing 30 miles an hour, the required speed limit, at the top of the hill, by the time I get to the bottom of the hill and come round the corner, I'd probably be doing 33, 34 miles an hour. That is where the council puts the mobile speed trap. I see it. It's too late. I know they photographed me. The laws. If only they would change the laws. Now, there is a suggestion that in fact the government should change the law. That instead of there being speed limits, they should have a suggested speed limit. In other words, you make up your own mind as to what speed you should travel. And there's also a suggestion that the government should change the laws about taxes, that they should suggest how much you should pay. But in fact, you can pay whatever you want. And there is a suggestion that children should not be compelled to go to school, but they could go to school whenever they feel like it. Now, as you realise, these suggestions are in complete nonsense. When I get caught in that speed trap, and I have been caught in that speed trap very often, I know for a fact that I have broken the rules, and therefore I must pay the penalty. Because that's the world I live in. And that's what I see all around me. Rules and regulations which help me to live with everybody, to be able to share with them and to be able to live proper lives with them. That in fact our lives are governed by these laws which oversee what we do. But when it comes to God, he also lays down lives. He also knows who we are. And he says to us as well, I also lay down rules for you, rules which will help you to live. But just like those rules of the road and taxes and education, very often Christians seem to think, I think these are just suggestions. That God says, yes, you should do this, but I'm going to take it as a suggestion. I'm not going to think that somehow I must do it. I will just accept what God is saying, and I will think about it, and I will decide what I should do and when I should do it. This is a very dangerous place to get to, because God knows us much better than we know ourselves. He created us. He knows how we should live, and he knows what we should do. I sometimes buy a new instrument or a machine, and it comes into the house. And being the type of person I am, I want to play with it and use it immediately. Now, I know I should read the instructions first, but I said, let's switch it on. Let's see if I can get it to work. And after a couple of days of trying to get it to work, I think, well, I better go back and read the instructions to see how it should really work. And then, of course, I can see what I've been doing wrong. Well, in a sense, when we go back to God and read his instructions given to us for our everyday lives, we can also see very often what it is that we're doing wrong. Let's just take one thing, for instance. God says to us simply, you must forgive people when they sin against you. You must. Because if you don't, it won't really affect them. It'll affect you. It'll poison your life. So whatever they may have done and whatever they may have said, you must forgive them. Otherwise, it'll become like a cancer in your spirit, and eat away and stop you from enjoying life. He doesn't say forget, because very often we can't forget. But he says, I want you to forgive them. I want you to come to me. And I want you to say, I forgive John or Mary or Alice or David, whoever it is. I forgive them for what they've done. I want you to release that particular sin in their life and take it away from them. Do we do that? No, we think it's a suggestion. I don't think it's a rule that I'm going to obey. Jesus is so important about this. He says, look, when you pray, say this: Father, forgive me my sins in the same way as I forgive others the sins they commit against me. You see, these are not suggestions. These are definite rules. He says to us, if you want to grow and mature, you must eat my flesh and drink my blood. Oh, it might be a suggestion. I think I'll just watch the service. I'll watch the stream service. I don't need to be with my fellow Christians. I don't need to eat. I don't need to drink. I don't need to do these things. These are just suggestions. I say to you, these are not suggestions. This is God instructing you as to how you should live and what you should do. See, we find many of these instructions given to us by God. He created us. He knows what we're like. He knows what we need. These are not suggestions. These are basic rules for everyday living, and we disregard them at our peril. Just like the speed limit tells me the speed I should drive my car, and the tax I should pay to the government. These are not suggestions either. These are laws that govern my everyday life. And God gives us other simple instructions to guide us and show us the way forward. Amen.